You know what I think about the Falcons?
What do you think about the
I
Falcons?
think they're going to make the playoffs. They're plus 1,200 on BetMGM. That division is not good.
Can we go on camera one right here? Can we put together like a montage of Jay's best moments on the show? Kind of a goodbye to Jay montage that we can play tomorrow. Just sort of like, hey, thanks for the memories, and just like a really put some music behind it.
So ridiculous.
It's great though. And it's true. And I like that your best moments are you not talking. We have no audio of your best
I love
moments.
when you
That's
go
great.
camera one. Because either my wife is getting a shout out or I'm getting fired. It's only those two options.
There you go. It was great. Your best moments were just you in black and white not saying anything. So it's just, that's what the production staff thinks of you. It took us 3 tries to do that. That's the kind of budget we have over here at Peacock.
You know the film Inception? You've seen Inception. Everyone's seen Inception.
Sure.
Great film. Makes a lot of sense. It's like Leonardo DiCaprio has planted in my brain the idea that the Atlanta Falcons are really good.
Yeah.
I just keep coming back to it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I can't justify it, but I just know they're making the playoffs at plus 1,200 on BetMGM.
It did say August 2023, so you might be covered there.
You might be covered.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Microsoft
You keep
Paint.
showing
Another
up.
production win for us.
I apparently like to get rid of Jay. Like I have to go to human resources. I have to put him on a performance improvement plan.
Like
I
a
have to
visa process.
It's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass, honestly, is what it is. So anyway, we're stuck with Jay here for a second, but make no mistake, keep camera one ready and hot at all times. Let's talk Roto World rankings, by the way.
Yeah, let's start with James Conner. You have him, they're going up, Arizona's got the Rams this week, and you have him 16th, Roto World has him 20th, so you're a little higher, nothing insane. But the Cardinals' backfield right now, 2 games into the season, James Conner, Darrell Williams, Eno Benjamin, a lot of that's factoring on Conner's health. Where are you right now with this backfield?
If I'm starting anyone, I'm starting James Conner. I think the expectation here now is that he will play. If James Conner is for some reason ruled out and I have to pick between Williams or Benjamin, give me Williams, who got more of the goal line work. Feels like he's the better chance to get into the end zone than Benjamin. But look, they're playing the Rams, and we expect a lot of points to be scored. Now, the Rams have a good run defense, no question about it, but the over-under in this game is 48.5, I think, right?
Yep.
So we expect a lot of points to be scored. Cardinals, Rams, when they get in close, they do like to give it to James Conner. If you're starting him, if he's active, I'm starting him as a top 16 fantasy running back. I have him. Me and the Roto World guys all have him as a top 20 play. So better days are ahead for James Conner, and I think it starts this weekend against the Rams.
I think the thing with James Conner is those first 2 games, Arizona have been down the entirety of both of those games. We haven't got a real game script type, or even a normal kind of close game for them until they started throwing the miraculous comeback.
And he left the game early last week as well. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he's on my team.
He's on my team in the league. Remember Alexa, stupid Alexa, making without
the nifty
mentioning
team.
The nifty team. I didn't name the team, but yeah. Anyway.
But you didn't change the name of the team either.
I didn't either. Maybe I need to. If I lose this week, it's definitely.
Needs a name change.
Yeah,
we're talking about how catastrophe triggers change. You got to change that name.
I might change it to Catastrophe Triggers Change.
Juju, yeah.
That's a pretty good team name, by the way. Catastrophe Triggers Change.
There it is.
I like
CTC.
that. By the way, that's a good band name too. By the way, I would go see that.
Yeah.
I would go see that. If I ever got divorced, right? If I ever got divorced, and then I'm one of those sad old guys, with a woman that's way too young for me, and I'm trying to be hip.
Happen.
No, right? And I've got the bad, I get my ear pierced, and I've probably got the bad, long hair ponytail, rat tail, right? Because I'm balding up here.
Maybe this could happen.
Right, exactly. So that's what I feel like. If I was going through that whole thing and I buy a Porsche or something like that, and I'm with some woman that's completely inappropriate for me age-wise, I feel like what I would do in that getup is go see Catastrophe Triggers Change at some bar, and I've got the bad leather jacket on, and I'm just sitting there probably
it's a band like Muse.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
Really
totally.
There's 13 people there.
Right, exactly. 13 people there, and everyone's just looking at my date. I'm like, why are you with the grandpa? And anyway, that's so. Anyway, this is just a moment for me to tell my wife, honey, I love you. Never leave me, please.
Yeah. Time for a smooth transition for me to Raheem Mostert. That's the best way to do this right now. A good week 2 for Raheem Mostert. You have him RB31. Roto World has him RB40, so a pretty big discrepancy here, pretty big difference. Are you comfortable starting anyone in the Dolphins' backfield?
I have him higher than Chase Edmonds, right? If you're picking a guy, give me Raheem Mostert, who's got the better chance of scoring a touchdown. Yeah, carried Edmonds 11-5. in Baltimore week 2, even though the game script would have suggested that it should have been Chase Edmonds as well. Played 55% of the offensive snaps in week 2, 42% in week 1. So it feels like that also is a way to say, like, hey, he's getting healthier. He's getting more up to speed. Having said that, Bills allow 66 rushing yards a game. It's the number 1 run defense in the NFL. They made Derrick Henry look like an old, slow man. They made Derrick Henry look like me.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's actually going to the Catastrophe Triggers Change concert.
Fantastic.
One of the 13.
Exactly. So am I comfortable starting either guy? Connor, to answer your question, I am not. Again, I have Mostert outside my top 30. But if you're telling me I got to pick one in this game to start, it's Raheem Mostert.
Biggest concern for either of those guys is that the Dolphins are 5.5-point dogs at home, so not expecting to get much game script. And the Bills are 5.5-point favorites in Miami, and Miami are really good. Just goes to show that the Bills right now are tier 1 by themselves. I wouldn't be too excited starting a running back, but at the same time, the total has actually moved up over the past 24 hours. It's at 53, so expecting there will be some scoring, will be some goal line opportunities.
Yeah, the Bills haven't played a close game the first 2 weeks of the season, so that could matter here a lot. All right, it's the Jimmy G Show again in San Francisco. Is that good or bad news for Brandon Ayuk?
I think it's good. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo can run this offense. Jimmy Garoppolo can throw the ball. Jimmy Garoppolo has made – Brandon Ayuk has been a fantasy-relevant wide receiver with Jimmy Garoppolo under center. None of that is true with Trey Lance. We don't know yet if Trey Lance can throw the ball or make Ayuk fantasy relevant. We won't know this year either, unfortunately. He's out for the week. So I do think season long, Garoppolo being under center is good for Ayuk, good for George Kittle. I will say, though, I don't love him this week. I mean, I have him at wide receiver 39. My expectation is that George Kittle plays in this game as well. So you've got a lot of you've got Debo's going to get his obviously. Now you've got Kittle and you've got Ayuk. He's going to be facing Patrick Surtain. That is a tough matchup for Ayuk. We expect this to be a fairly low scoring game. Like 44.5 is the current over under per BetMGM. I don't know. Ayuk I have as wide receiver 39. Like him season long with Garoppolo, but not on Sunday night.
Yeah, Jimmy G definitely helps Ayuk. Ayuk was the most targeted 49ers receiver in the red zone last year by far, actually, even though Debo gets a lot of touchdowns because he's breaking 70-yard slant routes to the house. I do think a lot of people ask me, like, what's the difference between Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of how they affect the line? The answer is it's difficult to just give a number because the whole idea about Trey Lance is that he's got these huge upsides and downsides, and week to week we don't even know what he is. Whereas Jimmy Garoppolo is just like the definition of a 7 out of 10 quarterback, right? Yeah. And the one thing about Jimmy, though, I will say, where upside does come, he was really banged up at the end of last season. And everyone thinks about the last 2 drives against the Rams in the NFC title game, which were a disaster. He still got them to the NFC title game despite the banged up, what was it, thumb and a shoulder. It's just everything was banged up. So I do think there is scope where he should be better than he was last year just because he should stay healthier.
Games in which he saw 6 or more targets last year, he finished with 85 or more scrimmage yards in 5 of those 9 games that he got 6 or more targets. So there is some potential there. But again, I want to take a wait and see, and let's see what it looks like here. Interesting question here about Elijah Moore.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the Garrett Wilson show now for the Jets. Garrett Wilson with 14 targets. He played less snaps than Elijah Moore and still had those 14 targets. So, Matthew, Elijah Moore, you have him as wide receiver 42 this week. Roto World has him wide receiver 33, almost a 10-spot difference. You're starting to sour a little bit on Moore in this Jets offense, it seems like.
It just is. Game script was so perfect last week because they were down big and they had to make the big comeback, and then it all went to Garrett Wilson here. Now, Corey Davis was limited in Thursday's practice, so we'll see if for some reason he misses this game. I think he practiced today, the expectation is, but you never know with Corey Davis. But again, if there's a positive to Elijah Moore, it's that he's talented and he ran the most routes and snaps by any Jets wide receiver in both weeks, but Wilson had the production. So he's out there. It just hasn't manifested itself in strong production here, but going against the Bengals, there's nothing that we've seen so far that gives you confidence to start him, especially given how much Wilson exploded. The fact that Corey Davis is also going to be active here in this one. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not feeling confident about Elijah Moore. So I'm at 42. If Corey Davis were ruled out, he would move up. But feels like if you're starting a Jets wide receiver, until we see it, it's got to be Garrett Wilson.
It's got to be Garrett Wilson. And if you're worried about Elijah Moore, I don't think it's so much about Corey Davis. It's the fact that Garrett Wilson is a freaking monster, and he's getting an insane target share and justifying it. I mean, you're the Jets guy, Connor. What are you seeing out of Garrett Wilson so far?
He's just always open, and when Flacco has a guy like that, he locks onto him. And they're getting creative with how they're using him. They're using him in tight sets. They're working him, motioning him into the slot in the middle of the field. Here's the biggest thing, guys. They love him in the red zone. They throw him the ball over and over again when they get into the red area.
Another touchdown against the Browns.
Easily. Flacco missed him on back-to-back throws in the red zone. Should have been a 3-touchdown day for Garrett Wilson. Jay, this was the summer of Breece Hall, Offensive Rookie of the Year odds. How has that started to turn towards Garrett Wilson?
It's the summer of, well, we're not even in summer anymore, but it's the fall of Garrett Wilson now. He's second favorite behind Drake London. I would be the same way as BetMGM is, where they have Drake London plus 600, Garrett Wilson second plus 800. Han Dotson is just behind Garrett Wilson. I think there's a big gap between Garrett Wilson. No offense to Matthew Berry, the Commanders man.
That's fine, but we've talked about this before. If I was placing money on an Offensive Rookie of the Year bet right now, give me Kenny Pickett. But after what we saw last night, the expectation here is that we're going to see Pickett sooner rather than later. As you've mentioned, Jay, many times in this show, this award normally goes to quarterbacks, and so we all think we're going to see Pickett. It's not if, it's when. And so if Pickett performs well, the odds you can get on Pickett right now, to me, suggest that it's a better bet.
Yep. Also, Desmond Ridder is 30-1 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He could get in there. Mariota is Mr. Glass from Unbreakable. He goes down all the time. And Desmond Ridder, in terms of what people showed in the preseason, not to bring it back to the Falcons again.
It's always about the Falcons.
No, find somebody who looks at you the way that Jay Croucher looks at the Falcons.
It makes one of them.
The Caprio Inception things in my brain.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, talk Falcons. But no, Garrett Wilson is a monster, and he is the rookie, not Breece Hall, who I think is the better candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
All right, let's stay in New York, but look at the Giants with Sterling Shepard. You were pretty high when you're talking about Sterling Shepard last week. If you're looking for something from this Giants offense right now, you have wide receiver 47 though.
To be clear, when you say high, what you mean there specifically, I want to be clear because they could go either way.
Sterling Shepard or Cooper Kupp.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that I'm optimistic about Sterling Shepard, not that I smoked a bowl before the show or anything like that. So just to be clear on
for
that.
what he is.
For what Sterling Shepard.
Fringe top 50 wide receiver this week.
I just want to say, look, he is somebody that has been fantasy successful in his past, right? He is somebody that has put up fantasy points previously. There is a connection there between him and Daniel Jones. In 9 of his last 10 games, where he's played at least 50 or more of the offensive snaps, he's seen at least 6 targets. I mean, when he's out there, Daniel Jones is looking for him. In week 2, he led the Giants in targets. He had double-digit targets in that game. He had a 32% target share. He was second among wide receivers in offensive snaps and routes run. And then you sort of look at the rest of the guys out there. I mean, Kadarius Toney can't get on the field. Wan'Dale Robinson has been out for the first 2 games. David Sills is running the most routes. And so Galladay, who played only 2 snaps in week 2, as Brian Daboll tries to change the culture of the Giants. And by the way, they're 2-0. So if you're Brian Daboll, you're not like, oh, you know what, we got to find more ways to get Kenny Galladay.
They're out on Kenny Galladay. Couldn't be more out.
As were the Lions, as were a lot of people. I mean, so as our fantasy managers for 2.5 years now, the fact is that I do think Sterling Shepard, who's out there in a bunch of leagues, is going to be the leading wide receiver for at least until Wan'Dale Robinson comes back, because we have high hopes for him. He's going to be the leading wide receiver on a team that has a competent offense. I'm not saying they're awesome, but it is a competent offense. He's going to get, again, double-digit targets. And he's just out there in a ton of waiver wires. So, look, I have him inside my top 50 this week. I'm not expecting fireworks, but I'm just like, if he has another good game against the Cowboys, the question with Shepard isn't talent, it's health.
Yep.
And he's medical miracle, but he is back and looks healthy.
The other thing with him is that the Giants have this incredibly easy schedule. And look, it's all relative, because when you're the New York Giants, you can't just put ticks next to games. But at the same time, they play the AFC South, worst division in football.
Yep.
They play the NFC North, which isn't super intimidating in terms of defenses. And then obviously they play the NFC East, which is not incredibly intimidating, though there are some good defenses in that division. So he should have opportunities.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to break, but when we're back, it is time for Last Call.
Drink up, boys. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Roto-World, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.